Welcome to Focus on Hope. My name is Eve Moffat, and I'm like very much to introduce to you Andrea and Joe. And they're with Connections. Tell me about Connections.
Connections is Connections Equine Therapy. And people often ask, is that therapy for human or for horses? And I guess I didn't think that, being the founder of the program, that could be confusing, but it is for human beings. So we have dual programs, and we serve a lot of population of the Verde Valley, children through seniors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of your volunteers.
Yes, I
Joe.
am. Yep. I've been with Connections almost 3 years. When I moved here from Connecticut, I wanted to be active in some kind of volunteer activity, and I heard about Connections. A lifelong horse lover, and although my career path took me in a different direction, originally I worked as a teacher of special needs children. So I thought, wow, this sounds good. And I showed up and immediately got hooked.
Now, what is your background experience?
My background is that I was born with an addiction, and I've often told people if they had 12-step for addiction to horses, I would not be doing what I'm doing now because I was obsessed. I'm told from early, just being able to talk was horses. So I've had a lot of careers in my life, but horses have been a consistent. And I've been an equine professional, which means earning a living in various horse pursuits for over 40 years.
Now, what type of programs do you offer?
We're what I call a dual program, which I guess simply put is we offer therapeutic riding, which most people know about, for individuals with disabilities. I think one of the things that often goes missed, and especially as the U.S. population and here in the Verde Valley is aging, is that it has some profound benefits for stroke victims. So there are about 62 different disabilities that we can work with, that I have been trained to work with. And my training was because I was a lifelong horsewoman, had shown horses, national, international, rodeoed, tried all of it. I still needed to go to school, which I went to Texas A&M.
Okay.
In a facility that was affiliated called Equest, to get, and at that time I got my registered and advanced level certifications in therapeutic riding, which require a lot of knowledge, which I was terrified to be an adult learner going back to school in physiology, anatomy, kinesiology, augmentative learning, psychology. You better already have expertise in the horses, their care, selection. This was about, you are taking a very fragile human being, potentially, and putting them on a 1,200-pound animal.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. So their basic focus was to teach us political correctness, a lot of how to do paperwork, how to create and direct engaging and productive lesson plans. And I was hooked. I mean, I was like, wow, it's only taken me all my life, 40-something years, to find out this is what I want to do when I grow up, is work with this population. The other part of our program is equine assisted and equine assisted psychotherapy. And again, we've had a lot of jokes with people like, well, I didn't know horses needed therapy. Well, actually they do. And sometimes their therapeutic process, when we've rescued or adopted some of the horses that we have that have had trauma, has helped our clients. So at that time, I began to develop 23 years ago, before I ever started therapeutic riding, a program with a therapist that was personal growth, which includes, to me, it's not one thing, it's the body, the mind, and the spirit. And so as I began to do more and more of that, it was be careful what you ask for.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I know this has helped me. These animals in my life have given me an inner compass. They've taught me some of, truthfully, the most valuable things I've learned in life about accountability, responsibility, non-codependency. And so I thought it was just me. And when this therapist became a regular riding client of mine, she's like, no, I see what you're doing. You need to format that. So that's kind of the personal growth. Mental health started a long time before the therapeutic riding. And about 10 years in, to my surprise, the universe works in mysterious ways. I began to hear about organizations forming that were creating a certification and an international network for this work. And so I became involved with an organization called EGALA, which I hate acronyms, I never can remember all of them, but it's Equine Association Growth,
Equine Assisted EAG.
Go
Equine
for it.
Assisted Growth and
Learning
Learning Association.
Wow.
Well, and the more you get professional certifications, the more of these acronyms you have to remember. But it's a co-facilitation with a licensed therapist and a licensed equine specialist. So we began to provide a more in-depth mental health services. So we've done everything from corporate trainings to groups that are trying to work together and are having problems creating effective, efficient communication, juveniles, juvenile probation kids,
Substance abuse.
Yeah, substance abuse, just couples, children.
Yes.
So it's, our program serves, this is a small demographics.
Yes.
And so it serves a broad population, and it has the ability to be fluid, especially in our equine assisted work, to identify where our community in the Verde Valley is having the biggest need.
Yeah. What's the age limit?
We like to get people into this kind of therapy as young as possible. If you're working on especially developmentally disabled individuals on the autism spectrum, the sooner you can begin work, the better. But we have people all the way up to seniors in their 70s, because there's always a way to do this, do it safely, and still address their needs.
Yeah.
How many people does it take to run your organization?
We're not really sure about that because we've never had all that we needed and a few extra. And having said that, I think last year we had about 8,500 volunteer hours a year. This year I expect the number to be higher because it's in direct correlation. For instance, in our therapeutic riding program, we may have to have 3 volunteers every time that client rides, which is on the average of once a week. So when we do groups, the largest group work we do is 4 at a time, because we feel that's what we can appropriately, with our size, our arena size, and give one-on-one attention that's needed to provide effective and safe therapeutic riding.
Okay.
So if you do the math, that we could do 25, 30 clients a week on our therapeutic side, multiply that with usually a minimum of 2 and sometimes 3 volunteers per client. Now that's your sidewalkers that we call them. We haven't even discussed.
Sidewalkers are what?
Sidewalkers are your volunteers who show up probably a half hour before session. They may assist the leaders, who leaders of our horses have to go through a special training qualifying process. And then they walk beside the horse. This is something, if you're not physically fit, it's probably not the best volunteering opportunity for you, because our clients, even ones who are in wheelchairs, that we have to lift on the horse, that are paralyzed from the chest down, ride. And so you may have to, they trot, they progress. So we would need, that's the sidewalker role. Sometimes with clients that are having memory issues or cognitive issues, there'll be a coach as a reminder. What did they say to do? You know, for instance, focus. You're not supposed to. We have clients that want to talk to their volunteers all the time. And you know what we're doing and why we're doing this and how we're doing that.
And there's others who are virtually nonverbal, and what we want them to do is talk.
Right,
so
right.
The whole spectrum.
So some of theirs are like, no, we're not talking now. You're supposed to be listening. I mean, it's a broad spectrum. Some of them may come with certain skills, volunteers that we may enhance their role.
Okay.
For instance, if they know sign language, occasionally we have a client that's a big plus for. So there's a lot of life skills that volunteers helping us create props and being creative in props that maybe we have a hand that has atrophied and we're trying to help it open. So we'll create a prop that pads a rein that gradually increases in size or allows them to hold it, or creative arts and crafts projects that help the lessons be more entertaining. There's an old saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
So our thing is how to get them to want to drink. How to get them to want to drink. A lot of our younger clients are, fortunately, we live in a society that sees their needs early on.
Yes.
And they participate in a lot of therapies, but they get therapy doubt. This is a whole new therapy that doesn't seem like therapy. And it's something that, quote unquote, normal, non-disabled people do. So especially with the kids, it creates huge empowerment. And I think it makes them feel more competitive, more equal in the world that they're going to grow up and live in.
One of the things that we really are trying to do is, regardless of what disability or challenge they're facing, is can we make this dependent on their family and caregivers?
Yes.
Can we help them find that niche in life where they can succeed and feel empowered? So we're looking way beyond just an hour and putting somebody on a horse and leading them around an arena.
Pony rides.
Yeah,
is
we're not doing pony rides.
Pet the pony is not what it's about. It's about creating life skills. We have one client, for instance, that started with us, is still with us 15 years later, because certain disabilities, the therapeutic riding stops the progression of the symptoms of that disability. Cerebral palsy, MS, or two. We've had individuals that came to us in a wheelchair with MS, and after riding less than 3 months could walk to the barn with a cane. They don't know why it works that way.
Yeah.
But it does. We had another young adult client that came to us completely never have been able to walk. And after about 3 to 4 months of therapeutic riding, which required a lot of volunteerism because of the condition of his body, for the first time in his life could sit on a chair and not be tied in, or the edge of their bed. Because if you do not learn to walk, you never get what's called vestibular stimulation, which creates all of our balance. You know how we've seen the infants go from thing to thing, or you can give them a piece of paper and they're fine, but if they drop the paper, they fall. So I think that was many years ago, and to me that we're continuing to get light bulbs about what we're doing out there, and now how it's creating. It never stops. You never stop learning how it's enabling individuals that participate in the program to be more independent, to be more self-confident. And it shows up in really amazing, unique ways.
And it helps the volunteers just as much.
Yeah.
When you were asking about volunteers, Andrea was describing the role of those volunteers who help with the clients. Beyond that, horses need to be fed, groomed, pastures cleaned. So we have a morning and evening shift 7 days a week, at least 2 to 3 people. So that's, how many shifts of people to just take care of the horses and meet their basic needs.
Yes.
And then there's things like office work, bookkeeping, accounting, fundraising, grant writing, and all the other million things that happen in our little office. So we're looking, when we're recruiting volunteers, we have a huge variety of categories. We need people in every one of them.
Marketing,
yes.
Advertising, people that, I'm really looking for someone who has social media skills to help.
We need to tweet.
And Winnie, to help us reach more people. For instance, we're getting ready to do a drive. We started a year ago our program called Downrange. And Downrange it started out for veterans. And I interviewed veterans all one summer because I'm a very person-centered approach in my work doing equine therapies, but also in my management of the program, which means that I feel we have to engage people in I know how to do the equine therapies, but what do you need? The communication, the voices need to be heard. I think mostly what we're all looking for, which shows up at Connections a lot, is we all need a witness to our life.
Explain.
Why do we talk to each other about our problems? We need a witness. We need to know being witnessed, not being fixed. Approach at being fixed is about being heard, which validates that your life has meaning and purpose. It also is about that you're not alone. If you are witnessed, you're not alone. Your life may change for the good, for what you perceive at that time, maybe not so good. But I find that in our society today, we tend to take something very simple and make it really complex. And I think the needs of human beings are not as complex as we've decided to make them. And that's what 15 years of clients, both with disability and those struggling with everything from just personal issues to profound mental illness. It's not as complicated as we make it. So I began to interview veterans and ask them, what do you like? What do you dislike? What of the programs that you have participated in? What's worked? And I'll never forget one of the first I interviewed, and he said, don't ask me how I feel. I'm tired of that blank. You do not want to know.
Okay.
We continued to talk. As it ended in 4 hours, he named the program and became a huge supporter of our first pilot project. And that's how downrange came in. As we went along, the way things often do, we found out a lot more about the military life, and also novel synchronicity that he had a son with a disability who became that part of the program. Then his wife and teenage daughter became volunteers, and that really helped us realize that we needed to expand our program so the downrange program at this time, and what we're hoping to get out to the Verde Valley community, is it's not just for the veterans, it's for the wife veterans and the children veterans, because when
The whole family.
the family are all veterans,
Yes.
all of their lives have been impacted by this experience.
Military, yes.
Can you imagine a parent that has been gone a total of 5 years in combat deployments coming back home?
Yeah. It's
Now I'm going to be daddy. What does that look like?
Yeah.
Well, are you really here? The anxiety of would they come back? So I realized that we are so fortunate that when our military calls for people to serve, I'm not always sure that we as a society really realize the ripple effect of if they have family, we don't get one, we get more than one.
Yeah.
And these families are the key to, I think, the survival of our veterans
Absolutely.
returning to health.
Tell them about the volunteer program.
So if you are interested in becoming a Connections volunteer, the first step is barn crew, because to be a sidewalker or a leader takes some special training. So first, anyone can show up, and within a few sessions, we can train you how to feed the horses, and well, most anybody can muck out a pasture. It's not, as
We
long
call
as
them, you're an entrepreneur,
an entrepreneur, yeah.
and you can have a T-shirt.
But there is a wonderful camaraderie amongst the volunteers, and they quickly find that they have their own horses that they fall in love with, and they just develop a rapport with each other, with the horses. Then, if you choose to take the training, we do a minimum of a 4-hour session with manuals and training materials and everything for people who want to become sidewalkers. And then they are coached along with experienced sidewalkers to become a leader, where your responsibility is controlling the horse to ensure the safety of horse client and anyone in the vicinity. Andrea founded a horsemanship program where we learn from the ground up natural horsemanship, how to understand that horse, how to predict what that horse's behavior is going to be on any given day, how to control them from the ground, how to ride them and control them, when you're on horseback. And it's an amazing experience. I mean, it's just
And not only
wonderful.
that, they learn about horse anatomy. They learn because I'm the only full-time employee,
Okay.
all right?
Okay.
So most people, one of the things, they're like, well, but I don't have any horse experience. That's fine. That's fine. We'll teach you. But they also learn, people graduate through the troops and become trainers. Whether it's they're a barn crew captain, now we can assign new people coming in for them to teach them the ropes about horse care. My advanced horsemanship group, they learn about what's a normal temperature, what's respiration, what's basic.
How to worm them, how to give them injections, how to treat various
because
ailments.
this all has to be done. And if I'm out with a group of clients and we have a horse crash with colic, I'm hoping I have an advanced horsemanship person there, so I don't have to stop a session. So I think the requirements right now are that with barn crew, and some people find their home in one area, and that's their niche.
Yes, it's niche.
And so barn crew, we require, I believe, and I'll get in trouble with our volunteer coordinator if I'm wrong, but is 8 weeks, isn't that it?
The minimum commitment is 8 weeks.
Minimum commitment is
You have
8
to be at
weeks.
least physically fit enough to, do the basic.
Shovel, pull, barrels, yeah. You can give up your membership to all the spas and gyms. We can help you out there.
It's a great health fitness program.
But then if in therapeutic riding, then like she said, a lot of people, because we only teach those courses for sidewalking,
Yes.
the client volunteers, we call them, we teach them, there's a schedule of when we teach that class. And I think again that they're asking, I thought that one was 12 weeks. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, it's a longer period, obviously. So
Because with both of them, we have an investment. And what people need to understand is if you are not there, it does not happen.
Okay.
If you are a client volunteer and this client needs 2 volunteers and you don't show up,
Yeah.
they
you
don't
get
ride.
to ride.
And I'm telling you, I do not like being the one.
To tell them.
No.
So you
no.
need more volunteers.
We're always looking for volunteers, always looking for volunteers, because we have this fantasy to have enough volunteers that we can have substitutes.
Yeah.
So if somebody has to be out, that we have a list of trains
Yes.
that we can go to, rather than what we do is like calling, which this lady here is one of them. Unfortunately or fortunately, she's trained in a lot of areas, so it's like, well, I know you're going to be out there working with the client and leading today, but could you also stay and feed?
Okay.
Oh, and then there's the grant we're working on, and then we have to plan next month's fundraiser. So
Oh, tell me about the fundraiser.
Oh, well, we're always trying to fundraise. We have no federal or state funding or assistance whatsoever. Our clients, some of them pay a fairly nominal fee for our services, but only those that can afford it. So
It's sliding scale.
it's a sliding scale. So most of our clients are on at least partial to full scholarship.
Okay.
So we are fully dependent on grants, donations, and fundraising.
Yes.
So we have several major events a year. Right now we have a big raffle going on. We're hoping to plan a big fundraising event for the spring. We participate in Arizona Gives Day, that's that one-day online fundraising event that takes place throughout the state. So all of those efforts, it takes a lot. You have to start months ahead planning for each and every one of these.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of years the budget's pretty tight.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that we've made that people, I think the thing is people hear about this program, and we surely invite them to go to our website, which is connectionsaz.com.
.com. We're .com.
We're .com.
Yeah. Because when we didn't know the difference when we applied for it 14 years ago. So.
All right,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. That was the .org thing. Ignorance is bliss when you found something you've never done before.
Oh, wow. This has been very interesting. This has been very interesting, Joe and Andrea.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're
Oh, thank
so
you.
welcome.
We enjoyed it.
Thank you again for looking at Focus on Hope. My name is Eve Moffett. We'll see you next week.